Let's roll, baby. Welcome into the Week 13 edition of Ringer Wise Guys right here on FanDuel TV. The boys are ready to rock and dominate this NFL card. We have Cousin Sal, Joe House, Raheem Palmer, yours truly, John Jastremski. Sal, I don't know what was worse. The Oregon Ducks laying 9.5, costing me a couple of shekels, or my performance on the blackjack tables. I'm really not sure about that.
Well, I didn't watch you play blackjack. How much did you lose? Are you probably hitting against a 6 and doing all stupid things,
I'm
right?
not doing any of that fugazy nonsense. Come on now, Sal.
Right.
You know me better than that.
We'll do better today. I mean, I got a hot streak going here, JJ. You're not going to like what I have to say, but I'll pick it up in a second.
Well, we'll save that for Wisest Wagers. And Joe House, a lot of sloppy conditions today. I know you're down in our nation's capital. I'm in New York City. It is gross. It is disgusting outside. And there are a whole lot of games on the East Coast. Weather potentially, my friend, could be a factor.
Yeah, we think about it in connection with the Dolphins and the C words. But on the other hand, why bother? Well, the one that we really should focus on is this Eagles 49ers epic tilt. And what will it do to the scoring matchup? Because a lot of forecasts, mine included, maybe a shootout. What's the rain do? It didn't do anything last week. Bills and Eagles last week, a full-on shootout. I'm rooting for the same thing today, JJ.
Me too. Hopefully we're going to have a whole lot of offense. Hopefully we're going to have as entertaining a game in Philadelphia as we saw last week with the Bills and the Eagles. And Dream, I'm not going to lie, buddy. You and I rode together on that Buffalo-Philadelphia game. I'm still salty thinking about it a week later. It still bothers me.
I'm still angry as well, but we're going to get them this week. Last week, we got some bad luck, but at some point, this Eagles team, they're not going to continue to just pull a rabbit out of a hat. So I think this is the week where they finally come down to their level.
Well, boys, we got a lot cooking in this Week 13 edition of Ringer Wise Guys. Of course, Red Hot Cousin Sal. We'll see if he continues as far as the Wisest Wagers are concerned. We will have our rat lines. We'll try to sniff out what's smelling fishy here in Week 13. We're also going to take an eye on the future, try to look at some make-the-miss playoff odds, maybe some future prop totals that we can cash in on. We're going to have our SGPs. They've been a big hit these last couple weeks. The boys are all in the lab. We're cooking for a bunch of different games with the SGPs. And then Steven Ruiz, who always ticks everybody off with his quarterback rankings, he will join us in our bonus time and have a couple of wagers for us. All right, guys, it's now time to wisen up. So, Sal, I might be putting the kibosh on you because I think I know where you're going with this particular pick, but you were red hot. You have been dominating these last few weeks. What do we have in store, my friend, for Week 13?
Well, thank you for the setup there. I'm 8-4, Ringer Wise Guys, Wisen Up section. That's 67%. And most mortals would quit. They'd be like, I've done enough for this show. I've done enough for the people. No, not me. I'm going to give out another winner here. And I have to make it a little challenging for myself. That's how bored I am right now, JJ. So I am going against your team and going with House's Commies plus 9.5 at home against the Dolphins, against your Dolphins. I know it's crazy to think that. The weather is supposed to be a mess. It's a sloppy game, but let me read some stats to you here. Home dogs, 7 or more points, 8-4-1 against the spread, 8-4, just like me. Rowboat Ron off extended rest, House, 13-6 against the number as an underdog. Washington hasn't played great in a bit, but I have confidence in Sam Howell. Wasn't terrible on Thanksgiving against the Cowboys. Turned it over once, had the one interception, still over 300 yards. I think this is a high scoring, despite the weather, much like the Bills-Eagles last week. Give me the points, and I wouldn't be surprised if Sam Howell has a shot to win this game. There should be a side bet between you and House right now, JJ.
We may have to work on that. I don't feel great particularly about laying 9.5 with the Miami Dolphins, and the only question I'd have for you, Sal, we're going to see 2, 3, or 4 Sam Howell turnovers in this particular game. The Washington defense cannot play any worse. Blackjack Del Rio is fired. Maybe you get a little bit of a spirited competitive effort. So you can have your 9.5 as long as the Miami Dolphins stacking up the W. That's all I'm concerned about. Okay, Raheem, we know you like ticking off the city of brotherly love. I have a feeling you're going to tick them off even more. So what do we got for our wisest wager, buddy?
So We're going to go with the San Francisco 49ers team total over 24.5 points. So I love ticking off the city of Philadelphia, but I do have a healthy respect for Jalen Hurts. And this San Francisco 49ers line has gone to 3, which is a little bit too high for me. We know this Eagles team is fraudulent. They're 10-1 with a point differential of a team that has won just 7 games. And a big part of that is their defense. They're 17th in defensive DVOA, 21st against the pass. And they've only played the 15th ranked schedule of opposing offenses. Well, they're facing the best offense in the league, 49ers first in DVOA, first in passing DVOA, first in EPA per play, first in success rate, first in early down EPA per play and success rate, and 4th in points per game at 28 points per game. When you look at this 49ers offense, if you exclude that 3-game stretch where Deebo Samuels got hurt, CMC got hurt, Brock Purdy had a concussion, where they just scored 17 points per game against the Browns, Vikings, and Bengals, they've averaged 32 points per game and gone over their point total in 7 out of the 8 games. This Eagles secondary is really struggling. They allowed the 4th highest average depth of target in the NFL and 2nd most TD receptions with 23. You saw they gave up 34 points against the Bills. They gave up 23 points against the Cowboys, 31 points against the Commanders. I expect the 49ers to light it up today. I'm going their team total over 24.5 points.
Going with a revenge game, too, for Brock Purdy. Remember, the last time he was on this field, NFC title game, chance to go to the Super Bowl, and it's taken away from him because of the injury to his elbow. Goes and gets Tommy John surgery and has been brilliant so far this season. All right, House, wisest wager. You've been the king of the dog. Now let's be the king of the wisest wager. What do we have for Week 13?
I feel like, JJ, we have a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I put it that way because I think this is probably the last time ever that we see Joe Flacco play quarterback in the NFL. The Rams are laying 3.5 points at home against the Cleveland Browns. The walking wounded, maybe the walking dead. The line at 3.5 points doesn't make any sense. It's got Joe Flacco, who we might have been wondering last week, with a TV remote, he's coming off of his couch and into an actual NFL stadium with NFL players on a 100-yard football field. And it's not like he's surrounded by an offensive line or weapons on offense that are going to keep him safe. Both the offensive tackles are replacements. Amari Cooper is walking wounded. And please, it wasn't that long ago that we saw Joe Flacco play football. Week 18 of the NFL season, not even a full calendar year ago for the Jets. That dude didn't want to play football. I don't know what he's doing here. Unfortunately for the Browns, it does not get any better on the other side of the ball. For some reason, this defense that we have been touting over the course of the season as potentially historically impressive, they are bad on the road, allowing opposing teams to score almost 30 points when they are on the road. The most pronounced split between home and away in the entire NFL. And they allow an NFL best 10.2 points. On the road, they allow 29 points. First in yards allowed per play at home. On the road, 1-3-1 against the spread on the road, 5-1 at home. The Browns turn the ball over 20% of their possessions on the road. That's 31st in the league. We know about the injury to Myles Garrett, but more importantly, Denzel Ward is out, their Pro Bowl cornerback. I like this Rams situation. They look like they're peaking. Get Kyron Williams back. His return cannot be overstated. An efficient runner. I think there's an incredible opportunity in addition to taking the Rams minus the 3.5. Team total under 17.5 points for the Browns. You got to get in on these Rams. This game also pushes them to making the playoffs, still plus 198. Dream gave it out at plus 420 last week. 98 for the Rams to make the playoffs. You could tell I like the Rams today.
I was going to say, Sal, I need a dissertation on Rams-Browns after listening to that comprehensive analysis by our guy Joe House. I mean, you want to talk about every angle being covered in that game. That's the PhD on Rams-Browns, baby.
He did a great job with that. I'm off the Browns. It's rare when somebody can convince me at this late in the week. I did like Flacco and the Browns, but House did it. I don't know how he gets his audio to cut out 3/4 of the way through every trend, but I was like, oh, wait, I love this trend. I'm like, oh, okay, we'll never know. But no, that was great, House. Bravo.
Well, House, since you stole my wisest wager, here's what I'm doing for my wisest wager. I'm teaming up with my guy Dream, and I'm not getting involved with a team total here. I'm just taking a side. It's as simple as that. The San Francisco 49ers in a revenge spot are not losing to the Philadelphia Eagles. This is a game that has been circled on San Francisco's calendar since the start of the season. They feel like they did not get an opportunity to show what they were made of against Philadelphia last year in the NFC title game because their quarterback went down. And I was down basically in Atlantic City with Eagle fans surrounding me, and all of them are chirping, how are we underdogs? How are we underdogs? Sometimes Vegas and our friends at FanDuel, they might know something. And I think they know something with this particular line. It's a sandwich spot for the Philadelphia Eagles. Think about the emotional games they've been playing. They played Kansas City, Super Bowl rematch just a few weeks ago. They were basically on the field for 5 quarters against the Buffalo Bills in the game last Sunday. Short week for them, extended rest for the Niners. And oh, by the way, you know the Eagles have next week? A Sunday night date with their division rival, the Dallas Cowboys. I think there's a reason this line is at 3. There's a reason why I believe in the Niners to be the best team in all of football. They are going to show it. Give me the Niners. I'm not scared that this line is moving, fellas. I know it was at 2.5. I don't care if it's at 3. They win, they cover, and I get back to winning ways here with my wisest wager. Now, Sal, you're going to have something on this game in a little bit, but I'm ready for an SGP. Those have been hot as well. What do we have in store?
All right, I miraculously hit 2 last week. So I think with these same game parlays, you pick the game where you think there's going to be a lot of scoring, a lot of big stats, a lot of fantasy, this and that, and then you work backwards on it. Case in point, Bills-Eagles last week. Most same game parlays you had on that game won. Maybe even in the third quarter. There was so much offense on both sides. I'm going Kansas City, Green Bay. This is the Sunday night game. I'm a little all over the place here. It's a 4-teamer. I'm going Chiefs to win the game. Packers over 17.5 points. Isaiah Pacheco, 40-plus rushing yards and an anytime touchdown for Pacheco. Chiefs start to click in December, so I think they get the W. Going Green Bay over 17.5. Packers scored 18 or more over their last 4. Pacheco runs like he's got diarrhea at the county fair and he's got to get to the porta potty. That's a good thing. Just sprinting to the finish line every single play. He had a couple touchdowns last week, scores again this week, and 40-plus yards is easy. He's also done that in 4 straight games. I got 2 right last week. Going for my 3rd. No one congratulated me. That's fine. Do this. Same game parlay, Sunday night game.
Sal loading up on a game where he thinks there's going to be a whole lot of action. I like the theme. I like the narrative. I'm going to have something to say on that Kansas City Green Bay game. That's coming up. Let's get made for Tommy's Rat Line of the Week. I hit on it. Kansas City and Green Bay, to me, smells like a rat. And the reason it smells like a rat is I think about teasers, and I think about our buddy Joe House, and I think about the amount of folks that are going to be going and looking at teaser legs and saying, hey, all I need to do is take Kansas City, who's at -6 right now, and just take them to win the game. There's no way in the world they're going to lose to the Green Bay Packers. I just get a sense, fellas, you might win that teaser, but it's going to be closer than you think. Green Bay is playing much better football. Jordan Love and that young offense, they have started to find it here a little bit. They're starting to gain confidence. They're starting to gain some steam. 2nd week in a row, you have the Kansas City Chiefs on the road. And if there's one thing we've been nailing here on Ringer Wise Guys over the last few weeks, I've been sniffing out those rats pretty good. I wish we had standings for Rat Line. I'd feel good about that. I mean, I'm the king of the rats. What can I tell you? But I think this is a rat. Don't lay the 6 and be careful with those teases. That's all I'm going to say for Kansas City and Green Bay. Raheem, what's our Rat Line of the Week?
I think I found a New York rat here. I mean, a big, giant New York rat, one of the rats that you see just crawling in the subway. It's the Los Angeles Chargers versus the New England Patriots. I mean, how can you bet on either one of these teams? New England is 3-13 against the spread as underdogs since the beginning of last year. This team is absolutely struggling. Bill Belichick looks like he's just past his prime. But then when you look at this Chargers team, how can you trust them to cover margin? If you look at Justin Herbert's 61 career starts, including the playoffs, points scored, 1,526. Points allowed, 1,542. This team is the epitome of mid. You look at this Chargers defense, 27th in defensive EPA per play, 28th in defensive six. So Bailey Zappi is coming in. He doesn't turn the ball over as much as Mac Jones. So they might have some success here, but I don't want to bet either side of this game. I want to stay as far away as possible.
There were a couple of immediate cross-outs for me this week. Chargers, Patriots, Falcons, and Jets. Two games that, for me, stay far, far away. Hide the women and children. Cover your eyes. This is a game that you don't want to have any action on come Sunday, and it does, in many ways, smell like a rat. All right, House, we are smelling out some rats. What do you have in store for Week 13?
Yeah, I feel the same way about this Detroit Lions road game at the New Orleans Saints. Detroit is favored by 4.5, and my objection with this game is, to me, that's a full 1.5 too much. I don't mind the idea of Detroit as a favorite here going into New Orleans. New Orleans, with all of the sort of injury experience they've had, their receiving core dinged up, although Chris Olave is playing. But I don't want to lay anything more than 3 points with Detroit because they have the worst second in the entire NFL. And on top of that, Jared Goff was so excited about the upcoming Thanksgiving that he decided to turn into a pumpkin against the Chicago Bears. And then he went full pumpkin pie against the Green Bay Packers. Two bad games in a row. Expectation for Jordan for Jared Goff this week. I don't know. Yeah. Point line. So what we saw last week out of Derek and the Saints offense, they had 9 drives of over 40 yards, no touchdowns, 0 for 5 in the red zone. But that was Carr just coming out of concussion protocol. He's had a whole nother week to get his head on right. I think this game is closer than the 4.5.
New Orleans has been absolutely dreadful at home. I mean, I can't believe we're talking about New Orleans, who used to dominate that Superdome. Now they're a team you want to fade in the Superdome, but I get your point, House. Maybe Detroit a little bit overvalued. Defense, not what it should be in that back end. If there's ever a week Mr. Carr and the Saints are going to go make plays, you think it would be on Sunday. Okay, Sal, I think your rat line is going to be something my friends down in the casino were alluding to this weekend. Is that accurate?
Well, I know no one's going to listen to me because it's the marquee matchup of the week, Philadelphia, San Francisco, but I think it's a stay away. I mean, I'm the only football junkie in America who has no opinion on this game other than that this smells like a rat. It really is. Joe House pointed out to me during the week, the look-ahead line in the summer for this game was Eagles -3. It shifted 6 points. And why? Because the 49ers need it more? Yeah, you know why they need it more? Because they're the inferior team. They have 3 losses. The Eagles have 1 loss. Like, what has happened from August to now that this line should move 6 points? All right, the Eagles are playing 3 games in 13 days. Did the odds makers not see this in August? So something's wrong. Either the look-ahead line was way off or this line is way off. I'm not doing it. I don't know why this is flipped. This is a rat and a half slathered with Philly cheesesteak sauce. I don't know what's going on here. Nobody, and this should scare you guys a little bit, nobody in the country has made a case for the Eagles +2.5 or +3. So I think it's a stay away. And furthermore, the result is going to piss me off no matter what as a Cowboys fan, pretty much. So I don't know, guys. Good luck to you, but I don't like this at all.
Well, insider information, my mother, Kim Jastremski, told me on Friday it's a terrible pick and I should be taking Philadelphia. So I'm going against mom's advice, number one, Sal. She might be the only person in America who likes Philadelphia this week. But Raheem, you spend a lot of time kind of crunching the numbers and whatnot. Explain to the audience why this line has moved the way that it has to the point where San Francisco, despite the fact that Philadelphia only has 1 loss this year, Philadelphia won the NFC. Philadelphia beat San Fran last year, yet They're underdogs in this spot. Why, in your opinion, Raheem, is that the case?
So this line actually opened San Francisco -1. And the betting market actually pushed this up to -3. And a big reason why is because if you look at the point differential, which is very predictive of what happens going forward, the Eagles are 10-1, but they have a point differential of a team that has won just 7 games. While the San Francisco 49ers are 8-3, they have a point differential of a team who has won 9 games. So the 49ers are the better team here, and the market made the correct move. Now, I do kind of agree with Sal that this line has gone a little bit too far at -3, but when you look at the spot that the Eagles are in, it's just a brutal spot.
Supposed to let down after the Cowboys, supposed to let down after the Chiefs, supposed to let down after the 2 crazy Washington games. It just hasn't happened. I mean, I wish you luck, and I get all of that, but the look-ahead line, I guess, should just disappear, is what I'm saying, because it does no bearing.
Well, I guess the Eagles just never going to lose a game. If they go and beat the Niners this week, then they're just never going to lose another game the rest of the season. So there's that. All right, Raheem, SGP time. And sure enough, you're staying on the game of the day, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm definitely staying on the game, and I'm doubling down. I'm actually going to go a little bit more crazy, and I'm going to take an alternate spread with the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to lay 5.5 with the San Francisco 49ers, and I'm going to mix that with George Kittle anytime touchdown, Brock Purdy over 1.5 touchdowns, and Deebo Samuels over 51.5 receiving yards. That pays like 11-1. Look, the 49ers win this game. They're going to win with margin. You look at this Eagles team, they played 93 snaps last week. Meanwhile, the San Francisco 49ers are coming off a mini bye. They played on Thanksgiving, so they had a lot of time to prepare for this revenge spot. More importantly, this Eagles team struggles to defend the middle of the field. They're 25th in EPA per play and a lot of the 4th highest rate of pass plays over the middle of the field. Where do the 49ers attack? The middle of the field. So George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, they should all have a big day. I'm expecting Brock Purdy to go out there and carve this defense up like a hot knife through butter. That's my same game parlay. Y'all know how it's going down.
Well, Raheem, I just took a screenshot of that grab because I'll be tailing you on that one. I like it. I absolutely adore it. Deebo Samuel was a monster last week against the Seattle Seahawks on Thanksgiving, and I think he's in store for another big day. All right, guys, the guest picks on Ringer Wise Guys have really stepped it up since we started ragging on them a few weeks ago that they never get winners. So Paul Versi, join the club. Let's stay hot. What do you got for guest pick number 1?
Hello, Ringer Wise Guys. This is Paul Versi. And this week I am coming to the family with a gift. It's a gift because it's a win. Okay. Now I could do another pick. I can do the Lions, which will probably happen, but no. I go hard and I go thoughtful, and I'm going to give you this gift from me to you for week 13. I will take the Denver Broncos getting points. Okay. They are getting points. I know the Texans are good, and I know the Texans are home, but I also know that Denver found something, and Sean Payton is clicking with something, and Russell Wilson is back, and the offense is playing better. So I will take the Denver Broncos getting points in Houston against the Texans. Family members, you're welcome.
Paul likes Denver plus 3.5. And if Denver goes and wins this game, it's going to go a long way in helping them make the AFC playoffs. Let's take a look at the AFC make the miss playoff board with a lot of the wild card contenders trying to figure out where there's value. Texans basically at even money. Denver to make it is at plus 146. Buffalo juicy at plus 360 on their bye. House, you see that board right there. I tell you, go make a bet. Who do you like?
Preference out of all these teams is the Broncos. And part of that handicap emanates from regarding this Houston-Denver game as effectively a playing game, because whichever team wins is going to have a significant leg up. When I look at what the two teams have schedule-wise remaining, it feels pretty even to me. Now, the Broncos do have to go on the road to Detroit, but they have 2 Chargers games remaining. They have a Patriots game at home, and they finish at the Raiders. I just like the direction that the Broncos are headed in. It looks like they found the identity. The defense go out and contain explosive plays, and then let Russell Wilson cook, but he's just stirring a pot of soup. He's not trying to cook, a giant tomahawk out there. So I like the way the Broncos have been performing. I think Sean Payton has them on the right. 146 is my favorite angle here.
Dream, you think there's value with Buffalo? I know the schedule's tough. I'm seeing a 3 in front of a plus number there. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I'm intrigued as well. And the big reason why is I don't like any of these other teams. And House is my guy. I love him to death. But I don't like this Broncos team at all. And I think they lose today. Since week 7, the Denver Broncos have 16 takeaways and just 3 turnovers on their own. And I think that's not sustainable at all. So I think when you're looking at a team who just generated that many turnovers, at some point they're going to meet their level. So I don't like the Broncos, the Colts. I think they're in a bad spot today against the Tennessee Titans. I think they're going to lose that game as well. And then I look at the Texans. I think the Texans do have some value, but if I'm going to play a future, I want to take plus money with probably the best team on this list, and that's the Buffalo Bills. So that's where I would go if I had to play something, but I don't have anything on it.
And Sal, you and I were invested in the Browns at the beginning of the year, telling they don't have odds for the Browns right now to make the playoffs because of the uncertainty at quarterback.
Yeah, well, they shouldn't be uncertain. Joe Flacco's going to be like every backup quarterback. He's going to go in there and he's checked down to Ford about 25 times, and that's going to be it. You're going to have to pray that he doesn't turn it over. But when they do put that number back up, it's going to be between minus 160, minus 170. I still think there's value in that. Even if they lose today, they have 7 wins. They'll need 3 more. Home for the Bears, favored. Home for the Jets, favored. And then week 17, or week 18, rather, at Cincinnati and Jake Browning. I think they take care of business. 9 could also get you in. 9 and 8. They own some interesting tiebreakers. So I like the Browns.
Guys, coming up on Ringer Wise, guys, we got a lot more to do. We got man's best bet as we will dive into the best underdog of the week. We'll also put together our family meal. I got a little surf and turf I'm bringing to the table today, boys. All that more. It's the Week 13 edition of Wise Guys right here on FanDuel TV. Welcome back to Ringer Wise Guys, Week 13 edition on FanDuel TV. And look at that lineup of programming you'll have coming up later on this week on FanDuel TV. It'll be Raheem Palmer, Joe House, and this guy, John Jastremski, for East Coast Bias, will be coming your way at Thursday, 9 a.m. Eastern. And then on Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, it's Cousin Sal, full cast of characters, hopefully a whole lot of winners. I hope the Washington Commanders are not a part of that list. I hope he's not reminiscing about Washington on Cousin Sal's winning weekend. That comes your way at 10 a.m. Eastern, of course, right here on FanDuel TV. All right, guys, it's now time for Wise Guys. Can you please advise as we get an email? And this one's a good one. What's happening, Wise Guys? Love getting your NFL Wise wagers every Sunday morning. But my question is actually college football related. Who do you have making the playoff this year? And who is my best bet once the lines are out? And hey, Sal, go Ducks. I mean, Tim, I don't know if that's sarcastic. I don't know if you're being nice. I don't know what the deal is there. I think you're trying to be a wise guy with that particular email. But here we stand, guys. We know Michigan's going to get in. We know Washington is going to get in. And my feeling on this, Sal, is if we're going from like an optic best viewing perspective playoff, the best viewing perspective playoff would be Michigan, Washington, Bama, who just beat Georgia, and Texas. But Florida State, undefeated, Power 5, beat a ranked team. I don't care if they got a third-string quarterback or not. How you leave Florida State out of this field?
Easy. You just don't list them in the top 4, and then they go on and play in a nice bowl game with their third-string quarterback. I'm not going to get crazy either way on this because, yes, you're right. Florida State, undefeated. That should be the goal every year for every team in a Power 5. So it's tough to leave them out. It's tough to leave Alabama out too, right? An SEC champion, right? This conference produces like 85% of the pros that we're going to see drafted in April. So it looks like on FanDuel right now, the favored result is Alabama out, Texas in, Florida State in, and of course, like you said, Washington and Michigan in as well. But let me tell you something. I have a lot of money on an SEC team to win the national title. If I don't even get a representative in this playoff, what were the odds on an SEC team not making the playoffs this year? That is going to be, you're going to see me throw down my headset and storm out of here. That'll be a bad result in about 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be pretty wild if we're talking about no SEC participant in this year's college football playoff. And Raheem, that's at least a possibility because you hit on it, Sal. Bama right now to get in is at plus 128. They are minus money on FanDuel to miss. We know Georgia is not going to get in with their one loss and the fact that they don't really have a great schedule. Raheem, are we living in a world where the SEC is on the outside looking in at a big party?
I'm not sure if we're living in that world, but we should be living in that world because the SEC was overrated this year. I mean, let's be real. Florida State took LSU into the deep waters and completely drowned them. You look at this Alabama team. They lost at home to Texas, and then they needed a miracle to beat Auburn. If Auburn just wasn't dumb and decided to rush more than 2 passers, we're not even having this conversation right now. So Florida State, they were 13-0. Yes, they had their third-string quarterback, but by the time the bowl games start, they're going to have their second-string quarterback. I don't see how you can have a Power 5 school who went undefeated, who watched LSU and the potential Heisman winner, and then leave them out of this. This is ridiculous to me. They went 13-0. They went undefeated. They beat up the SEC team. So you got to put them in there regardless of how you feel they're going to do going forward. And if you go back, you look at Ohio State, Braxton Miller got hurt. Cardell Jones came in and won. So maybe Florida State isn't going to get washed in the way that people are saying they will be. I mean, you look at the other day, the market gets it wrong all the time. Oregon was a 10-point favorite, and they got washed the other day. So don't count Florida State out of this. They should be in the playoffs, period.
And House, if there's one team who should not get screwed in the proceedings, it's Texas. Texas went to Alabama and won the game outright. You can't have this playoff and Texas is sitting on the outside looking in. And I did tell you, House, on East Coast Bias, Bama, if they cover, they're going to win the game. But that Oregon lean, I couldn't have been more wrong on that, House. Oh, my goodness. I want my refund. I deserve better.
I was so impressed by Washington in that performance, but Dream and I, for some reason, this Sunday we're on opposite sides here because with the format that the dummies that run college football have come up with, where we're voting and we're eye testing, then somebody's going to lose. And when you have 5 power conferences and 4 spots, then somebody is going to be left out. The team this year, unfortunately, that gets left out to me is Florida State because their third string quarterback is not Cardale Jones, right? We got to see what their backup quarterback looks like. And I don't like the idea of rewarding Alabama either. To me, I'd put Georgia in. Michigan, Texas, Washington, Georgia. Georgia losing by a field goal on a neutral site game against an arch rival in their conference is not a bad loss. The bad loss is Alabama losing at home to Texas. And it did take that miracle for Alabama to even be in this position. So to me, Georgia, they survived, the number 1 team all the way up to this point. A neutral field 3-point loss to me shouldn't disqualify them. But look, we're voting. It's a beauty contest, whatever. Never underestimate the power of Nick Saban. That's the only thing that I'll say.
Can I just add one thing, JJ? Because, you know, I get that it sucks that it's like 75-year-old white Southerners smoking cigars, may not even be watching these games, are deciding. But the one good thing about this system is they don't have an NFL problem where we're going to see a backup quarterback or 3 or 4 in the playoffs because it goes by record, and then there are the tiebreakers that exist. This is an invitational. You could get the best quarterbacks there if you want because they're deserving. You could get McCarthy, Ewers, Penix, and you could get, who am I missing here? Jalen Milroe. Those would be a good 4. That's a compelling 4, and it's an entertainment thing. It really is.
From a TV standpoint, not wrong. I got to push back on Georgia, though, guys, because then Ohio State has the same logic. You know what I mean? Ohio State lost to Michigan.
That wasn't a neutral site game.
But exactly. It was on the road, and they lost by 6 points. They lost by less than a touchdown. So to me,
cover.
Ohio, they're both out. They lost. They had their opportunity to win. They didn't win. The case closed. So, listen, good thing we're not on the committee. We'd be fighting about this all day. We got an SGP to get to. House, I know you've been in the lab. I know you've been cooking. What do you got for me, bud?
I am on this Pittsburgh Steelers team, and I'm not going to be a creature of the moment and expect another, 400-plus yard performance out of the Pittsburgh Steelers, but we're just trying to be modest here and take advantage of this newfound innovation post the Matt Canada era that we seem to be in. I'm going to keep it simple. The Steelers on the money line, that's the first leg. I don't like them laying the 5.5 or the 6 or the 6.5, whatever the number's up to now. But Steelers on the money line, they have to win. They're still on the cusp of potentially competing for the division of the AFC North. So this is a must-win right now. Jaylen Warren over 15.5 receiving yards. This is a function of Arizona allowing an incredible performance out of running backs in the receiving. 88% completion. They're 31st in the league. Warren getting to 15.5. Pickett likes to target him. And then we have the resurgence of Najee Harris, over 54.5 rushing yards. The Cardinals are terrible against runs up the middle. 29th in yards per carry allowed up the middle. That's what Najee Harris likes to do. He's hit this over 54.5 at 3 of the last 4 games. And look, we have healthy tight ends. He might be there by halftime. The Steelers want to rush the ball, and I like this a lot. It's plus 323. Nice and easy. Let's go ahead and cash one in the early afternoon.
Like the sound of it, House, especially knowing that Cardinal defense prone to running backs of the opponent going and getting after it. Sal, I'm like Bart Simpson, though. I need to write on the chalkboard like 100 times. I will not bet against the Steelers. I will not bet against the Steelers. I will not bet against the Steelers. I almost did this week, but I am showing restraint. I'm proud of myself for that.
Good job by you. Make sure you take Steelers opponent first half and Steelers to win the game. You're going to cash it in the next 2 or 3 weeks. But we should have a Bart Simpson chalkboard segment for sure.
Yeah, I know. Maybe it doesn't fit the wise guy motif, but I like it, and it might be a new addition to the show. Anyway, we got a guest pick, Tate Frazier, who might have been hanging with Jim Boeheim at the North Carolina game on Saturday. He's with us. What do you have in store for us, Tate?
What's up, wise guys? Great to see everybody. I got a red zone special this week for you. Each team to score 1+ touchdowns in the 1 o'clock Eastern games. If you look at the slate, I feel like we got a lot of gunslingers out there, so we got a lot of touchdowns on the way. The only game I would circle is the Chargers and the Patriots. I know BS doesn't want to hear this, but I think Zappy's got one. I think he can get one touchdown. So the only game that scares me is Chargers Patriots. Maybe the Jets, and they get you a little worried, or the Falcons with Desmond Ridder. But I like that slate. I like the 10 o'clock games, and I like Bailey Zappi getting one touchdown to make it hit at plus 105. So we get one touchdown from each team in the 10 o'clock / 1 o'clock Eastern window. So I'm going to go with that. Bailey Zappi, get it done, and let's cash this in, plus 105.
So appreciate the pick, Tate. My only pushback with this, Raheem, would be there's so many bad quarterbacks. And there are so many offenses that are struggling to score. All it takes is one to go and, get shut out or go and kick a couple of field goals. I can't give this a wise guy endorsement, Dream. I can't do it.
Can't either, because I look at this every single week, and I try to tell myself that everybody's going to score, but there's always a team that gets shut out. There's always a team that just kicks field goals. There's always a team who just can't move the ball. So it looks good, but it's too good to be true.
Way too good to be true. You know what? Hopefully isn't too good to be true. Our man's best bet. We gave you the dramatic pause. We extended it. I mean, maybe that's going to be my Oscar-nominated performance here on Ringer Wise Guys. But Sal, the dogs will be barking, hopefully. What dog do you like?
I like this one. I like my Russell Wilson dog here. House hit on it. Denver is a live dog there. Look at that dog. It's a high knee dog. That's an unlimited dog if you ever saw one. And the real Russell Wilson has been very good. Not just average, very good. Last 5 games, 9 touchdowns, no interceptions. Hasn't turned it over in the red zone this year, and they've already faced 4 of the top 5 defenses. This team might be better than everybody thinks. House is with me here against the Texans. Look, I love what CJ Stroud has done, but what do I get? And plus 144 has some value. Denver defense, it probably can't keep up that they forced 12 turnovers in the last 4 games, but they are wreaking havoc on the NFL, and I think they're just going to get their just desserts this week. Plus 144, there's some good value in them as a dog.
Amazing to think about the turnaround with the Broncos early this year, giving up 70 points to the Miami Dolphins. Now, all of a sudden, Denver, new lease on life, forced in turnovers, back in the thick of things here in the AFC. Something's got to give between the Broncos and the Texans. Fascinating game coming up at 1 p.m. Eastern. All right, Raheem, I think you got us an ugly dog this week. Rumor has it. What would that ugly dog be?
Yeah, this is an ugly, large dog. Carolina Panthers plus 166. This was a large dog, but it lost a little weight in between our production meeting and now live because the market tends to agree with me. You see Carolina Panthers, they fire Frank Wright. This is a great spot for, a team. When you look at these since 2010, teams with the interim head coach, 16-10 against the spread and 16-10 straight up. You saw the Raiders with Antonio Pierce a couple of weeks ago. It gave them a new lease on life. You saw the Colts with Jeff Saturday last year. So you look at this Buccaneers team. They come into this game banged up. Baker Mayfield, he hurt his ankle last week. Then we missing guys on defense. Jamel Dean at corner. Levante David, Devin White. So I expect Carolina to be able to move the ball a little bit. Obviously, this offense is pretty ugly, whether Frank Wright is coaching or Thomas Brown is calling plays. But I just think this is a good spot, divisional game. This Buccaneers offense leaves a lot to be desired. So if they're going to pull a rabbit out of the hat and win a game, it's going to be here. So I'm taking the Carolina Panthers plus 166 on the money line. I
don't hate it, Raheem. Interim coach bump and the fact that Tampa Bay stinks. It's worth the roll of the dice, especially at that plus 166 value. All right, House, you have been the king of the dog. What does the king of the dog have to say about week 13?
Well, I am right in that Bart Simpson territory, which is never, ever on any circumstances should anyone bet on the New York Jets. But fellas, I'm doing it. And I must not be alone because the number opened up over the course of the week. The money line for the Jets was like plus 126 or so. It's all the way down to plus 116, I believe. Now, there's a guy in this picture whose name is not going to be mentioned because he is not relevant to the analysis of how the Jets are going to do today. And that man likes to hear his name said. I'm not going to say his name. The name that I am going to say is Desmond Ridder, who is atrocious, deplorable on the road. He is outdoors. The splits between his performance at home and his performance on the road. Now, I am not recommending anybody to sit down and try and do an X's and O's that support Tim Boyle as the quarterback of the New York Jets, because you're going to confuse yourself and you might fall over with a headache. But that Jets defense has been confusing quarterbacks. They had an outstanding performance through the first half of the season against every top tier quarterback that they confronted. I think it's the Jets defense that is the different tier today. I'm fading the Falcons. I'm on the Jets. And, you know, there's a scenario under which Tim Boyle only plays a portion of this game. Then we get Trevor Siemian, a significant upgrade. I'm on the Jets today, holding my nose and rolling with the Jets, JJ.
Listen, I understand the pick. Atlanta laying points on the road is not exactly going to inspire, but I mentioned games that should kind of be in that stay away category. Those were a couple of immediate cross-offs. Chargers, Patriots, Jets, Falcons. So I just wish you the best of luck, House. I'm not going near it. I'm not playing it, but I wish you the best of luck. All right, my dog of the week, guys. It's as small a dog as you can find. I'm maybe still salty over the fact that my big dog in the Buffalo Bills couldn't win last week. See the invisible dog right there. But Mike Vrabel as a home dog has been cash money over these last few years. And I just get the sense Indianapolis here is getting a little bit overvalued in the market. I know Indianapolis is in the playoff race. I know Steichen's done a good job getting them over the 500 mark. But I think we're going to have a market correction in this particular game. Tennessee at home. Tennessee has had the better of Indianapolis considerably over the last few years. They get it done. Sal, I know you're not happy about me taking a plus 100 dog, but I can't win when I take big dogs, small dogs, any dogs. I got to do whatever I can. Maybe the invisible dog will help me. I don't know.
No, I think it's shameful and it's insulting to me and Raheem what you and House tried to do. These are not underdog picks. You pulled a Michael Strahan, Terry Bradshaw. There's a chair available for you at Fox pregame where they pick underdogs of 1 point or 1.5 every week. So go ahead, go to that pregame show. That's why this is the #1 pregame show in the country, and you guys are bringing it down with these 1.5 point dogs.
Well, listen, I need to win, so I don't care if it's ugly. I don't care if it's gross. House, don't apologize. Let's just win.
Not. My favorite underdogs were the Broncos and the Panthers, and I'm a generous fellow. I let my teammates go ahead and ride with the big dogs.
All right,
we're down here. I mean, you're going to really criticize me for taking the Jets at this point of the season, cuz? Come on.
Or the lowly Tennessee Titans. Come on now.
I'm saying there's another show for you. That's all. I'm not.
I don't appreciate that. House and I take offense. We take offense. Anyway. Let's get to our SGP. It's the final one. It's coming from me. I'm going back to the well. The Dolphin SGPs have been very good to me on this show. And no, I am not betting Jalen Waddle to score a touchdown. That's been a usual given tradition when I give the Dolphin SGP. Not in this case. Dolphins, Sal can have his 9.5. I just need him to win by 2.5. Tyreek Hill going for 2,000 yards. I'll take him at 90-plus receiving yards against that dreadful Commanders secondary. Sam Howell, 225 passing yards. That should be helped by the fact that Javon Holland, the Dolphins' outstanding safety, is not going to play here on Sunday. And I'll take Tua over 1.5 passing touchdowns. It's a small SGP, but we're looking for a winner at plus 226. And I think the Dolphins and Sam Howell will help me out. All right, guys. It's now time to get in the lab and see who's in and who's out for Week 13. So let's take a look at that board. I mentioned Javon Holland. He is not going to play. Trey McBride is in. Teron Armstead, the big offensive tackle for the Miami Dolphins, he is in. Tank Dell and Chris Olave, big deal for the Texans and the Saints, respectively. They're going to play. Chris Godwin's going to play. And I have Keenan Allen in fantasy, and he is going to play. How effective will he be? We'll have to wait and see. So a lot of positivity on our in and out board for week number 13. Let's keep the positivity going. It's time to get in the kitchen. It's time to formulate what we are going to do as far as our family meal is concerned. Let's get to it. House, I'll start with you. What are you bringing to the table?
Yeah, I love it when you start with me because it allows me to tap into my creativity, my vision for a perfect table for everybody. This is a table setter. We're starting with the prosciutto di Parma parlay this week. 3 elements to a beautiful plate, the prosciutto with the mozz and the melon. It could be a little cantaloupe. It could be a little honeydew. The mozz is buffalo. It's got to be. And then you want the nice ham to be the centerpiece. I have 3 legs of a money line parlay here. We're playing the Chargers just to go win against New England. We're playing the Dolphins just to go win against Washington. And then the sweet ending is the San Francisco 49ers, because I'm joining you guys on this lean with the Niners. They have to win to stay close to the possibility of the number 1 seed in the NFC. They have a rest advantage. They have a health advantage. They have the motivation. 3 legs, a beautiful appetizer prosciutto parlay, fellas.
Well, that's a nice start to the meal. I'm already getting hungry. You just warmed this up. Now we need a little pasta dish, Raheem. So what are you bringing to the table, big boy?
Okay, so I initially had a 2-team teaser, Jacksonville Jaguars, teased down from 8.5 down to 2.5. That line is now up to 10, and this is no longer in the teaser category. So, let's switch this up. We can do a 7-point teaser here. Let's do Jacksonville. Let's tease that down from 7. Let's tease it down. You can find a 9.5. You tease that down from 9.5 down. Let's just try to find a 7-point teaser, and then you tease that with the Tennessee Titans. I think the biggest reason why is when you look at this Jacksonville team, they're taking on the Bengals. Zach Taylor is just 4-20 straight up without Joe Burrow. They're not going to win that game. Bengals are 26 in defensive DVOA. They're not going to be able to stop Trevor Lawrence. So if you want to put the Jacksonville Jaguars in a money line parlay, I totally understand it. And then when you look at the Tennessee Titans, they're taking on the Indianapolis Colts. Gardner Minshew was just 5-15 straight up in his last 20 starts, 9-11 against the spread. So teasing through those key numbers of 3 and 7, I think if you find yourself in a good spot. But you don't want to tease the Jaguars down from 10 to 3.5. It just puts you in a bad spot. So maybe you take a 7-point teaser with something else, or maybe you put that in the money line parlay. But those are 2 legs that I like.
All right, now I'm bringing the entree tonight, fellas. And I had a little surf and turf on Friday night. I had a little lobster tail, had a little steak. So what I'm going to do is give you a 2-team money line parlay. And with California dreaming, we're taking a team from the northern part of California in the San Francisco 49ers. We are taking a team from Southern California in the Los Angeles Rams. All they got to do is win. I'm doubling the action here. I know I had the Niners as our wisest wager. Well, I wanted to bring them to the party. I want them to be included in the entree. Then I'm also taking the Los Angeles Rams. Joe Flacco and his performance as the starting quarterback over the last 3 years is as bad as can be. They literally just signed him off the couch to go and play against the Los Angeles Rams. California dreaming, Niners, Rams, plus 151 for our 2-team entree main dish. Sal, time for dessert. What do you have for us?
I like that. I wish I could describe my meal in the way with the flourish that Joe House does with the flamboyance. I don't even hear the teams he's talking about. I get so hungry just listening to him. He's like, wow, this is a waiter who should be at a 5-star, like a Michelin restaurant here. But that said, all I could call this is chicken parm with oysters. This player prop parlay putting 2 together. McCaffrey and Henry each to score 2 touchdowns. I know it's a long shot. You get over 16-1 odds for this one. Now the chicken parm, that's McCaffrey. It's never going to be bad, right? The Olive Gardens of the world aside, it is a solid meal. McCaffrey will score 1 touchdown. He'll have at least a chance to get the second. Derrick Henry is the oysters. Tried and true for many, many years, but can leave you sick. Absolutely. Got to be careful. Don't get a bad batch of Derrick Henry. He had 2 last week. He came alive versus the Panthers. Home again this week. Against Indianapolis, sorry. Tennessee is home. 7.5 yards per carry over his career against Indianapolis, who is 26th run defense this year. Chicken parm plus oysters plus 16.49. That's my matchup meal.
I love oysters. I love chicken parm. Sal, I would not eat the two of those together. That just doesn't sound appetizing.
You cut it up, you put it in the shell, suck it right out, JJ. I'll teach you.
You can teach me. That's fine. All right, let's get to another email. Wise guys, please advise. Here we go. Hey, Wise guys, congrats on being America's #1 Sunday morning pregame show. That's music to your ears, Cousin Sal. How about some advertisement on an anytime TD for my Bengals on Monday night? With Joe Burrow and my hopes done for the year, I need something to cheer for. Jamar Chase is plus 220. T. Higgins is plus 360. Mr. Boyd is at plus 490. The Steelers have screwed me a lot, so I understand you're paying Jay. I get it. Thanks for the email. You know, Raheem, out of those three, I might as well take a long shot here because you have Jake Browning throwing the football. I want to get some bang for my buck. If I'm taking a shot on somebody to score, why not go with Mr. Tyler Boyd? I'd take the shot at plus 490. Why not?
Yeah, this one's reaching the bottom of the barrel for me. Like, this is brutal. I would probably go with an even, longer shot. I mean, Trenton Irwin. I would pull somebody because a lot of times when you have these backup quarterbacks, they tend to have a rapport with some of the, backup wide receivers since they tend to work up with them so much. So I would either, I agree with the boy, but I definitely wouldn't be taking Chase or Mixon. I would try to, take a long shot here.
You like this one, House. We got a YouTube comment. This one comes from Colin Hanna. House's internet looks like the Rams spread bet. Spotty and tough to defend. What's up with that, House?
I don't understand. Please, by all means, go invest your own hard-earned money on the Cleveland Browns and Joe Flacco today. If you hate money, that's a perfect way to proceed. I can't defend my internet. It's indefensible. Just like Desmond Ridder at quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons.
Hopefully, Sal, the Commanders' defense is going to be like House's internet. That's what I'm looking for later on tonight. I know you're not, but I am.
Look, 33-31 is a fine final for that game for me, taking 9.5. Back to the anytime touchdown guy. Is anytime really, are we using that loosely? Because I like Joe Mixon week 3 of 2024 if he's looking for an anytime touchdown. Otherwise, I would stay away.
Well, guys, that's going to do it for the week 13 edition of Ringer Wise Guys. When we chat in our bonus time, which you want to check out on all our digital platforms, we will have Steven Ruiz. We're also going to have live reaction to what the committee decides as far as the college football playoff is concerned. Who's in, who's out, you'll have to wait and see. For Raheem, House, Cousin Sal, John Jastremski signing off. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Let's cash those tickets. Wise Guys out. Be good, everybody. It's bonus time here for Ringer Wise Guys as we get you set for week 13, and we also await who's in and who's out as far as the college football playoff is concerned. It's John Jastremski, Cousin Sal, Joe House, Raheem Palmer, in case you needed that reminder. Guys, let's do some honorable mentions. We didn't get to all of these games. There are two from an ATS perspective. If you got to bet them, you got to bet them. Sal, Panthers, Bucks. Bucks are laying a number. Carolina just fired their coach. I actually think there's value maybe in taking Carolina to go and win this game. Would you make that same case?
I had this on the stay away list. I get Raheem what he's saying about the Panthers is a nice spot for them. When coaches are fired, it usually lights a fire under the players, as the last couple of examples with the Colts last year and the Raiders this year. But I'm thinking about this, and I know there's probably not a 6-point margin between them in real life, but for God's sakes, the Bucs, this is a you ought to be ashamed of yourself game. If the Bucs can't win at home after a 5 or 6 game slide against the lowly Panthers, then I don't know what to say anymore. And also, I'm not good at picking these South games at all, so I'm not the one to go to.
Well, and you were big on the New Orleans Saints going into the beginning of the year, just on schedule and schedule alone. You know what's crazy though? Somebody is going to win that NFC South bet, and I feel the way about the Falcons that you, Sal, feel the way about the Saints. I just can't stand them. I really can't.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But somebody's going to win.
What's to like about any of it? It's really rough that one or, God forbid, 2 of those quarterbacks is going to be in the NFC playoffs.
But somebody is going to win money on it. So, House, would you go and invest in Carolina today, plus points?
Yeah, I already exclaimed during Dream's recitation of why he was investing in Carolina. I like the points. I like the money line better. I think the spot for the Bucs is tough because Baker Mayfield already immobile, probably shouldn't play today. I mean, they had to do an MRI on his ankle, and I'm not he's a diminished Baker Mayfield against a defense that is motivated. And I think that Panthers defense isn't terrible. They're getting healthy again. I like the spot for the Panthers, and I'm not going to play big numbers on it, but a little something here and there is okay.
All right, there's another game we didn't get to. Chargers, Patriots, hide the women and children. Bailey Zappi at quarterback, or the idea of laying points with Brandon Staley or everybody's favorite chosen one, Justin Herbert at quarterback. I am not betting this game. I actually showed restraint last week, and I almost bet the Patriots laying points against the New York Giants. I'm so glad I didn't. It's one of the things I actually got right a week ago because it was a wise, conscious decision. Raheem, Patriots getting points with Zappi or laying them with Brandon Staley? I mean, you decide. I'm glad I'm not betting this game, but if you had to, who would you be on?
This was my rat line. I can't decide. Like, you got to ask Sal or House because this is a rat line. Like I can't do anything about it.
House, you betting this one?
Well, I already bet it. I bet it a few different times over here because the total over the course of the week was at 40 or over 40, I think. Am I right about that? Which one am I mixing up?
The total was way too high earlier in the week. Way too high.
I just jumped in. It's, the defensive performance at the Chargers, they were spunky enough against the Ravens. They kept the Ravens under 25.5 team total, so I took it on the chin a little bit with that wager, but I don't see these two teams combining for 30, much more than 30 points. So I bet the under in this it's that 39.5 now. I would still bet the under again.
By the way, Sal, I'm proud of myself for not belly aching about that backdoor cover in Ravens Chargers last Sunday. It took me an hour and 2 minutes to reference it here on Ringer Wise Guys. And all I'm going to say is I was on set on our Honda Sports Night show on SOY, and I may have slammed the table 30 seconds. But I'm trying to multitask, and I'm doing live television, and I'm also watching. You guys got to witness that a few weeks ago when the Dolphins were playing the Kansas City Chiefs. It didn't go particularly well for me. But I'm just glad that our friends over at SNY edited out me slamming a table as Zay Flowers didn't take a knee and said, screw you, JJ. I'm scoring a touchdown and I'm costing you money in the process.
Yeah, you have anger management issues, and it's something me and Raheem and House wanted to sit down and talk to you about. Maybe after the digital show, if you want to stick around just for a few minutes, we could sort that out. But really, whoever bet that Ravens-Chargers game deserves exactly what they got, I feel like. By the way, you may have stumbled on something. How about belly aching for Bailey Zappi? Anybody who gets screwed over by Bailey? I don't even know.
Or the Podfather, if the Patriots go and win this game, I know he's got his sights set on a quarterback with either the number 1 and the number 2 pick. I like that. Belly aching.
Yeah, he belly achers.
Well played. All right, guys, let's take a look at the odds right now on FanDuel to have the most passing yards in the NFL this season. And all of a sudden, a lot of momentum, Sal, for your buddy, your pal, Dakota Prescott, who has been balling out the last few weeks. He's at plus 850 to have the most passing yards. I know you're in on Sam Howell, who puts up numbers on that dreadful Commanders team. Stroud right now is the favorite. Tua has slowed down over the last couple weeks. He's at plus 300, and the best quarterback in the world, Patrick Mahomes, at plus 500. Do you feel good still, Cousin Sal, about Mr. Howell at plus 800?
Yeah, I do. I took him a few weeks ago at 12-1 when he had the most passing yards in the league. And now as I look at it, he still has the most passing yards in the league. He has 113 over Stroud, I believe. Now, all these guys have a game in hand, right? House, you guys haven't had your bye. I think you have it next week. You're one of two teams. So they'll lose that game, but he might get the game back. The key is week 18, right? And you're going to hear me say this about a lot of these props. I think Sam Howell is one of the few who's guaranteed, if he's healthy, to play in that week 18. Some of these other guys, Dak Prescott, Cowboys might not need it. They may have the 5 wrapped up. Who knows with C.J. Stroud? As bad as that is, that wild card, he could have the wild card wrapped up. So I think you got to look at that. And to get 8-1 to be leading this late in the season and probably playing week 18, that's how I did the math on it.
You know, that's amazing. That's a part of the handicap, Raheem. You know, for a lot of these awards and a lot of these props, like, I'm thinking about it from Tyreek Hill's perspective, because I have him to go and have the most receiving yards, which I feel really good about, assuming there's no injury, but also assuming that he's going to play in week 18. Like that's a big deal for a lot of these guys if you're trying to get in on that market. Is that accurate?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. I think the biggest thing, too, is that you want a quarterback who's going to have to throw a ton to stay in their games, and that's Sam Howell. As long as C.J. Stroud as well. So, like, I think those two are probably the best bets on the board. Obviously, you look at a guy like Patrick Mahomes, like right now, the Chiefs are winning with defense. And if these teams haven't wrapped up, then he's not going to need to go balls to the wall. So I definitely like the Sam Howell pick.
How's any interest? Bet most passing yards?
I'm just going to add another leg to the justification for Howell, and it's this. Eric Bieniemy is auditioning for his next job because the Washington Seawards are going to have a new coach next season, and it might be an offensive-minded coach, which means Bieniemy is not going to be the offensive coordinator potentially. And so what he's doing is showing everybody his resume through Sam Howell's arm. And I think that they are going to continue to throw with the volume that they're throwing. And every one of the games they have left on their schedule, they are going to be big-time underdogs. And the only way to compete is to throw early and often. So I like the Howell angle quite a bit.
All right, guys, we'll hear from Sheil Solak. They're going to have a lot of analysis on Niners and Eagles. Hopefully they're aligning with my Niner -3 pick. We'll have to wait and see. Extra point taken. And then our buddy Steven Ruiz, that's coming up next.
Locks of the week. Again, I'm going first. I got to change the juju. I have got the Houston Texans. I'm riding this Texans team, baby. -3.5 at home against the Denver Broncos. You know what? You know, in a bounce back spot, trying to make the playoffs, I like the Texans here. And by the way, this game, keep an eye on all the Ringer socials. We're going to have an NFL same game parlay for this game. Benny Souls is going to cook up something. What do you think, Solak? Texans -3.5 over the Broncos.
I think this Broncos team is due for a little bit of a stinker, due for a little bit of to fall flat. And then I think the Texans are an extremely tough out in any given week, and they also know they have to win to stay tight in the AFC playoff race. So yeah, I think this is a good to a Texans spot.
All right, what do you got? What's your first one?
I have two that I really like, and then the third one I'm waffling. We'll start with Rams -3.5. Brought this up. I'm loving the opportunity to fade Joe Flacco in his first start. The Rams are at home, only getting 3.5 against the Browns. So I'm expecting the Rams get out early, get a couple points, run a trick play or two, make sure you generate that 10-point lead, and then put the Browns in a spot where they just can't play the game that they want to play. You should be able to coast this thing pretty nicely. So Rams, again, in that playoff hunt, like I said, -3.5 is my first one.
Keep an eye on Myles Garrett in that game. When I wrote my column Wednesday night, I actually took the Browns +3.5. Didn't feel great about it. All right, my next one. I'm going to Sunday night. The Kansas City Chiefs -6. I think it's kind of gotten a little too far. I just think Steve Spagnuolo is such a hard defensive coordinator to prepare for a young, inexperienced team. So I think this is a competitive game. I mean, it's -6. It's not, -9. This could be a tie game in the fourth quarter. Chiefs score a touchdown, and I get the cover. So I like Kansas City to go to Green Bay, win that game by a touchdown. We say, okay, pump the brakes a little bit on the Packers, although I like the Packers. Packers are going to make the playoffs. They're just going to have a little bit of a hiccup here. All right, what do you have for your second game?
Second one is Lions -4.5 on the road against the Saints. Faded the Saints last week. Loved it. Go Birds.
It's
Falcons
fun
for
to
sure.
fade. It's very fun to fade the Saints, I will say.
Yeah.
I mean,
The
that is
ter-
not a team you want to be like, have
Yeah.
something invested in this version of the Saints.
And obviously, like Dan Campbell came from New Orleans, and Dennis Allen kind of knows how that offense goes. There's a lot of mirror match stuff going on, but I do think that Glenn's familiarity with this offense is helpful because, you know, this offense is a lot of like traditional drop back stuff and then common concepts, and you can kind of key your guys in pretty successfully, get tight to routes, take that stuff away. The Lions weak in the secondary, liable in the pass game, bad over the middle of the field. The Saints don't have the guys to do it. They don't have the players that you usually need to get that done because of the injuries they've had at receiver. And so to me, this is a nice Lions bounce back spot in the long week, -4.5.
So I don't know if the Saints, like you mentioned, have the guys this week to put them in a blender, but man, since week 6 or 7, that defense has really struggled. So we'll see if they can bounce back here. All right, my last one. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one on any podcast in America to be where they pick sides and they pick 3 games to pick this team and this side. But you know what? I've got the Washington Commanders +9.5 at home against the Miami Dolphins. Washington coming off a blowout loss. Sam Howell, you can get me a little backdoor cover, put together a nice drive, 30-21. Washington, I think after that blowout loss, no one's going to be picking them. I like to be on the side. No one's picking. I've got the Commanders covering +9.5 at home against Miami.
I thought about them this week. I decided to pass against it, though I wouldn't be surprised if they dumped 30 on the Commanders.
Yeah, that would not be a shock. I just need the Commanders to score 21. All right, what do you have for your last one?
I'm waffling, Shield. Okay,
what do you got? Talk to me. What are we looking at?
I'll take Falcons -1.5. Tim Boyle. There's my whole logic. Thank you for listening, Ben and Shield podcast. Now the Jets offense is abysmal. The Falcons defense is legitimate. I think the Falcons will be able to control game script in this one.
I don't want to choose to be insufferable, but if they lose to Tim Boyle, I mean, this is probably going to be my lead take on Monday night, after Monday Night Football on our next show. I'm not going to be able to help myself. Locks of the week.
All right, good stuff from the boys. Let's welcome in a guy who's been having a lot of fun on the Ringer social media feed doing his quarterback rankings. And in the business of being somebody that pisses people off on a daily basis, Stephen Ruiz, I appreciate someone that is finding a way to piss off the internet day in and day out. I respect it. Welcome in. How are you, my friend?
You have a strange definition of fun if you think what I'm doing on social media is fun. I'm not trying to piss people off. Is that what you're going for?
No, not at all. I just, listen, that's the way it goes sometimes.
It's just natural.
It's natural. That's what happens when you live in New York. You piss people off who are not from New York, who don't get it. So for you, you're putting your quarterback rankings out there. They're your opinion. You're doing your research and your homework. And hey, dude, you got to just roll with it, man. Be the bad guy. It's okay to be the bad guy every now and again, Ruiz.
I'm fine with it. I embrace it. I've embraced Peter King as my enemy.
That's a battle on social media I never thought I'd see. Stephen Ruiz versus Peter King. I love it. I love it. I love it. Stephen, in all seriousness, the quarterback play and some of the quarterbacks that we have out there this week, I mean, you got some guys who have no business starting NFL games, and you see the totals in these games. They're in the 30s. They're in the low 40s. Has that been, in your opinion, a major narrative and storyline that we've watched over the course of this NFL year? Just bad quarterback play kind of dominating a lot of these games?
Yeah, and I think one of the underrated thing is we got this last year. Last year, there was a record number of starters. And I would know, that was the first year I did the quarterback rankings. And every time we get a new starter, I have to write about him. So I'm writing about like Kyle Allen in November. And I'm just like, this is the worst idea I've ever had. Now I'm writing about Tim Boyle. And now I yearn for Kyle Allen because Tim Boyle is the worst quarterback I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of bad quarterbacks. And that includes like XFL. I'm an XFL season ticket holder. He's QB3 on DC.
And just so you know, Stephen Ruiz, Joe House, for his underdog of the week, has put his money on Tim Boyle and the New York Jets. Your thoughts on that?
You just light the money on fire.
Oh, yeah,
I bet, a confession, I bet on the Jets last week against the Dolphins, or whenever they played the Dolphins. I bet on Tim Boyle. I've made that mistake.
Well, at least you were getting 9.5 points in the proceedings, Ruiz. You know, at least you were getting 9.5. But I guess the only counter is House is betting against the Atlanta Falcons. So if there's a team that could, out-jet the Jet, maybe it's the Falcons. let's get to Niners and Eagles. Raheem and I are invested. Ruiz, I have the Niners laying 3. It's my wisest wager of the week. Raheem went with a team total, thinking that we're going to have a whole lot of points from Brock Purdy in a revenge spot after what happened in the NFC title game. We know you wrote about this on The Ringer. Share some your analysis, your handicap, your feel on the fact that the Eagles, with only one loss, the resilient, spunky, chip on their shoulder, Nick Sirianni-led Philadelphia Eagles, getting points at home against the Niners this week.
I think the 49ers are the better team. Let me start out by saying that. But I'm picking the Eagles in this one. I think home field advantage matters more just because of the pass rush and how both of these teams rely on the pass rush and defensive line play. Just get off on the snap. And I think that's easier to do when you're at home. Another element is the 49ers rush defense is very bad, and it's very bad on 3rd and short and 4th and short. And if I could pick one team not to be bad in those situations, it's the Philadelphia Eagles. So I think they can take advantage of them on the ground in the pass game. I think they win this game, but I think in a rematch in San Francisco, I would take the 49ers, but it's not where it's being played.
Wow, we did it. We did it, JJ. We had 44 minutes, and we finally found someone in the country who made a case for the Eagles. I love it. Maybe now you could feel a little bit better about your Niners bet and the fact that this spread is 6 points out of whack.
Well, I did tell you that Mama Jastremski, Kim J, told me my wisest wager, Ruiz, was a terrible pick. I spent some time with Mom over the course of the weekend. She goes, what do you like this weekend? I go, I like San Francisco. She goes, I disagree. Philadelphia. So you and Mom are riding together on this one, Ruiz.
She knows ball. She knows ball.
Mom does know ball. She got commended, actually, by one of the bartenders at the Borgata in Atlantic City because of the fact that she could reference with ease the Jake Elliott 59-yard field goal against the Buffalo Bills. All right, Ruiz, let's get to some of your wisest wagers. You actually want to bet Chargers and Patriots? Are you sure about this? I'm going to let you reconsider. You want to do it, though?
I am sure. I see a game on the board with 2 quarterbacks, one being Justin Herbert and one being Bailey Zappi. I'm going to lay the 5.5 points on that one. I think the Chargers are underrated because of their record, but they've been close against good teams, very good teams, and this is not a good team. And it's not a good pass defense either. I think we think of the Pats defense as being good. They haven't been good against the pass. That's going to hurt against Herbert. And then on the other side of the ball, I think when Brandon Staley can blitz, his run defense is good, and that's the key to stopping New England. And I think he's going to be able to blitz against them. They don't have the receivers on the outside to threaten them. I think on both sides of the ball, they have the advantage.
Rolling with the Chargers, laying 5.5, and you make a detailed case. I guess my only counter would be it's the Chargers, Ruiz. It is the Chargers. So weird, you know what can happen when you're betting on the Los Angeles Chargers. I learned this the hard way last week, getting 3.5 against the Ravens. Not kind.
No, but the Patriots just lost to Tommy DeVito.
They did, who, by the way, is the king of New Jersey, because I've already seen videos circulating on social media that he is rocking in Hoboken. Sal, house, this guy is rocking in Hoboken with the TD chain, dancing the night away. I know this because my sister is a Hoboken native, and she sent me video last night that I may share on social media, although he's off. He's on a bye week, so I guess he's allowed to enjoy. He is truly embracing, House, the idea that he is the king of New Jersey. He's all in.
Let's bring it back Jersey Shore DeVito style. I don't know what it would be. Jim Tan, what, throw? I don't know what the 3 would be. But yeah, let's. I like DeVito. The more DeVito, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
I think the third one would be take a sack. I think that would be the third one.
Behind that giant offensive line, it's totally understandable. You know, Sal, we think about the wise guy narrative and theme a lot with this show. We need to have a feature, a sit down with the DeVito family. Like, I need to go out in New Jersey, go have a stroll with Mr. DeVito, maybe light up a stogie. Did you guys see the tailgate party they were having before Giants and Patriots? Like, who wouldn't want to hang with the DeVitos, man? That'd be a ton of fun.
I love that idea. We definitely should have them on. Maybe Super Bowl week is when we bring the DeVitos in, and maybe they could cook for us right there in Vegas. We'll do it, right? And speaking of Vegas, Tommy DeVito will probably share a residency with DJ Paulie D, spinning records at the Bellagio or something crazy in 6 months.
I look forward to that. That will be worth the price of admission. All right, let's get back on track here, Ruiz. Pick number 2, player prop standpoint. What do we got, dude?
I'm going Jalen Hurts under 41.5 rush yards. And I'm doing that because he's gone under that number 8 times. in the season in 11 games. And the two defenses that I think they've played that are similar to the 49ers are Washington and New York. And they held them to the lowest rush attempts. So I just think it's going to be opportunity. He's not going to get him. They're not going to let him be a runner. And he's going to go under.
Going under. Raheem, I know you had a lot of props for your SGP with Niners and Philadelphia. Did not include anything involving Jalen Hurts. How do you feel about this prop?
I'm not too mad at it. I think that's a good prop.
That's what, 42 tush pushes? I mean, if he gets a yard per tush push, I think you're in a little bit of trouble, but it's right there.
All right, let's get to the MVP market. It's wide open. Dak Prescott has worked his way into the equation with some monster performances the last few weeks. If Philadelphia loses to San Fran, all of a sudden Dallas beats the Eagles next week. Maybe that momentum and that narrative builds that much more. Mahomes is always in the mix. CJ Stroud is in the mix. Don't think Tua will be there. He's not been as good the last couple of weeks. Right now, Ruiz, if we're looking at the MVP, and you had to throw a wager down on somebody to go and win the MVP, I didn't even mention Jalen Hurts. Who do we like for MVP?
I'm going with Mahomes. I think he's going to come back to the best quarterback in the NFL. And I think there's cases to be made against the other guys. Like the Cowboys, their schedule is just too tough. And if we see one high-profile loss for Dak, we know what that leads to narrative-wise. Hurts, his case is just too fragile for me. If they lose one or two games, he doesn't have the stats to kind of survive that. And then I think Mahomes has the narrative with the receiver drops. And we've seen those games. We've seen his struggles.
I'm thinking of Tyreek Hill. When are we going to – we might as well rename the award, Ruiz, the quarterback award of the year. Because, like, if the guy goes for 2,000 yards and can't win an MVP, like, what is it going to take for a running back or a receiver to win an MVP award again?
It's not going to happen, but you're not going to win money because that should have happened. That's not
I
how
understand
that's
that. I'm just going to bellyache about it. You're absolutely right.
No, I'm with you on that one. I'm with you. The fact that Jalen Hurts is the leader right now, he hasn't played well, and he's the MVP leader because he has 10 wins.
But it just goes to show you how, like, we do these preseason shows, and we try to have some fun, and we'll, like, dig up a real good long shot at, like, a running back or a real good long shot at receiver. It's a donation. To Steve's point, like, they give the award to a quarterback now year after year after year. So remind the three of us and Cousin Sal, when we're doing our preseason stuff and we're digging into odds and we're trying to find value, don't waste our time with anybody who's not a quarterback. It's just a colossal just donation to FanDuel and everybody involved. It really is.
Yeah, I think Cousin Sal told us this. If you want to play a non-quarterback, you play them for the Offensive Player of the Year award. And I like Tyreek, for that. But to Ruiz's point about Mahomes, what they have left on their schedule makes this really enticing. So the Bills, weak in secondary. Maybe they want to go out and throw the ball some. At the Patriots, we'll see what the weather's like, but for sure you could throw the ball against that team. He just had one of his best games of the season against the Raiders. They have the Raiders at home. They have the Bengals, an atrocious pass defense, and they finished the season with the Chargers. By then, maybe he has it wrapped up. So I'm kind of looking at what that road looks like in front of the Chiefs. And Mahomes, I mean, sometimes the best answer is the one that's sitting right in front of your face.
Yeah, I think like preseason, for the last few years, I've gone Mahomes 6-1, Chiefs 6-1. All right, and let the cards fall as they may. As long as Mahomes is upright in January, you're going to get value in that bet. I mean, the Chiefs will be probably plus 350 come playoff time, and Mahomes, you're going to see that shrink as long as he doesn't turn the ball over this next month.
All right, guys.
I have a question for you guys.
Oh, go ahead, Raheem.
Before we move on, because there is a big game today, and you have Jalen Hurts sitting at plus 190, and you have Brock Purdy sitting at 10-1. Based on today's game, I think those odds are going to move. So do you guys find value on either one of those guys?
What's
I can't see Purdy winning the award. I think that stretch in the middle of the year is going to kill him. I just don't. Raheem, I get your point because he will drop from 10-1. Ruiz, I can't see us living in a world where Brock Purdy's the MVP.
That was the number I was looking at before I settled on Mahomes. But I'm with you. Like that's what prevented me from picking him. Is I just can't see him winning. Maybe it's just my heart. Like I don't want him to win it. I don't want that to happen to the MVP award. But I don't know if he wins, like Raheem says, if he wins today, I'm very interested to see what those odds look like. Because if he beats Jalen Hurts and he has like a monster game like he did against the Cowboys, I wouldn't be surprised if he's like 1 or 2. Maybe he's behind Dak after today.
And then even if Jalen Hurts wins his next 2 games, where does that put him? Because he's at plus 190. I mean, he has the 49ers and then the Cowboys. He wins these next 2 games, he might wrap it up. Despite, the fact that he hasn't played the best. It's just, this stretch right here, when you have the Chiefs, the Bills, the Cowboys, and the 49ers, you survive this, you win all these games, you got to be MVP.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the league might feel like they owe Hurts from last year, and he got votes, so that is a viable contender there. The problem with Purdy is he's got McCaffrey on the team. Same thing as you, JJ. Like Tua wouldn't win with good stats because he has Tyreek Hill. So I think the sentiment there is that those guys will not be able to win because of the help they get.
All right, guys, we got an update on the college football playoff. 1, 2, and 3, no surprise, in my opinion. Michigan's 1. Washington, after they win over Oregon, they're at 2. South Texas, number 3. And you know what? Justified. They beat Bama at Bama. Does that tell you maybe with Texas being slotted in at 3 spot that Florida State's going to get the shaft? I think it might, dude. I think it might.
Well, what tells me that Florida State might get the shaft is that they're 40-1 to win the title, and that has gone down. Alabama, on FanDuel at least, is the favorite to get that 4 seed, basically, in a nutshell. So let's see what happens here if Florida State gets bounced as an undefeated team.
Well, and think about this from just a viewing perspective. Raheem, even though I think it would be maybe unfair and unreasonable to Florida State, you tell me you get Bama and Saban against Harbaugh and Michigan, that is a far juicier game than Florida State. Georgia's number 6. Well, you know what it is. It's going to be Bama or Florida State. And I think Florida State gets
the way they revealed that. Like, who cares if Georgia's number 6?
You know what they're doing. They're trying to keep everybody dialed in.
Who's number 11?
Watching the show.
Who's number 16? Who cares? Yeah.
You know it. All right, while we wait for this, let's
yes.
do what we
Yes.
Bama's 4. So they gave Florida State the shaft. They thought about television. I mean, I can't blame them. It'll be a better game.
These games are on TV. That's a problem.
Well, listen, Raheem, they're thinking about next month. They're not thinking about fairness. Florida State got the shaft here. They did.
I mean, why don't we just vote the Bucks and the Celtics into the Eastern Conference Finals? Like, come on, man. Like, this is ridiculous.
Dream, this has been going on for 60 years. It's a beauty contest. The whole thing's rigged. It's college
and they're going
to
lose to Ohio State by 20 in their freaking Citrus Bowl. It's fine. That's good.
That's true.
We'll keep this.
It's the 4 best teams. It's the 4 best teams. That's what the committee says they're going to do. I appreciate this. I don't want to see Florida State get blown out by Michigan. Let's see a good game.
You go.
Why are you complaining about good TV?
It is going to be good TV.
I'm new to the college football thing. I've been watching NBA, NFL my whole life.
Listen, you're looking at numbers and you're being fair based on merit. I think from a viewing perspective, we're getting a much better viewing perspective.
Wait, what's the merit? Not playing in the SEC's the merit.
Well, I mean, listen, they did go undefeated in a Power 5 and beat a ranked team in their championship game. They did. You know what I mean? Like
Alabama beat Georgia.
They did.
Bama might be
but
favored.
to Raheem's point, they almost lost to Auburn last week.
Bama could be favored against Michigan. But
Ruiz, I'd rather see Bama in the game. Don't get me wrong. Like, I want better theater. I want a more enjoyable college football playoff. I'm not disagreeing on that. I just said if I coach Florida State, I'd be livid. If I play on Florida State today, I'd be livid. You know? All right,
it's a party. They weren't invited. It's that simple.
That's it. It's like Sal's Halloween party. All right, quickly, guys. You got 30 seconds each. Weekly special. Ruiz, you're our guest. Take it away.
I have every team playing in the 4 o'clock window hits a field goal. I just think looking at the matchups, these teams are going to stall out in the red zone. Then I think 49ers Eagles is going to be a cagey game where both teams kick a field goal.
I like it. All right, Sal, what do you got?
House, I really, really love your team. It's disgusting how much I do. 34-1 that the Commanders, by the way, 6 teams off. You get 34-1 that the Commanders are the highest scoring Sunday team. 26 versus Seattle, 31 twice versus Philly. I don't care what the weather's like. Sam Howell puts on a clinic today.
House, what do you got?
I wish Cousin Sal the best of luck. I am on the Patriots as the lowest scoring team of the day. For some reason, they were 4th or 5th when I looked at these odds. Now they're at they went from 10-1 down to like 9.5 to 1 or 9 to 1. How do they score 10 points? I don't have an answer for you. I like the Patriots as the lowest scoring team of the day.
Raheem, quickly.
Oh shoot. I'm going to go with Stafford, Hurts, and Purdy to combine for 6+ passing touchdowns. You guys know, I think San Francisco Eagles going to be a shootout. Stafford can do his part. Let's go.
All I know is I'm glad I grabbed Bama plus 650 before the show. They're now down to 350 on FanDuel. Take that for data. Take that for your weekly special. I'll do it. Thank you, Stephen Ruiz, for joining us. For Cousin Sal, Joe House, Raheem Palmer, John Jastremski signing off. Enjoy Week 13 in the NFL. Same time, same place next week. Be good, everybody.
Yep. Thanks for having me, guys. Anytime. Thanks, guys.